Well, it's kind of a good question. Who who is the best returning player in college football in 2023? Is anyone above Brock Bowers? We've had this discussion a lot. We talked about Brock Bowers a lot. He's been on the cover of Dog Post's season preview a year ago, and he'll probably be on the cover of the season preview that's coming up. But I did want to take a look around and say, oh, who's better than him coming back in college football? I'm not sure I have an answer for that. But I'm going to go through a list real quick, and you tell me. I mean, a lot of folks watching this are not Georgia folks, which is great. That's fine, whatever. But Brock Bowers has about the only thing he's not done at Georgia. He's won back-to-back national championships. I think most people think he's a Heisman candidate coming into 23. That's a challenging position to be in, considering he's playing tight end. But about the only thing he's not done is have had a 1,000-yard season. That could happen this year coming up for Bowers. But let's take a look at just the sort of landscape um, in college football. Who could possibly be better than him? Now, I'm not going to talk necessarily about offensive linemen. That's a challenging thing. But for instance, Dallas Turner at Alabama, is he a better player than Brock Bowers? Spencer Rattler at South Carolina, Brew McCrory at Tennessee. I do not think KJ Jefferson is. I do not think McCoy or Rattler are either. But I'm talking about, what about Malik Neighbors at LSU? What about away from the SEC? How about Caleb Williams at USC? What about Drake May at North Carolina? People love Drake May that are you know sort of, the ACC seems like a wasteland sometimes, and we forget about it. But they have some pretty good quarterbacks coming back. Drake May, Jordan Travis, those are two very good players. Michael Penix at UW, Bo Nix at Oregon, Jaden Daniels obviously at LSU is another guy. Sam Hartman, who was at Wake Forest, is now at Notre Dame. JJ McCarthy, again, KJ Jefferson pops up. I'm not sure I would say any of those guys, with the exception of, I mean, Caleb Williams for sure is a discussion. I don't think there's much doubt about that. Blake Corum at Michigan, who did not play this past college football playoff, if I'm not mistaken. He did not play. Raheem Sanders at Arkansas. Um, the running backs are not unbelievable coming back into um, the season. Not unbelievable necessarily at all. I do think Marvin Harrison Jr. is also someone that needs to be discussed in this, because I think he is an exceptional player. I don't know. We talked about Neighbors from LSU, who's a very good player for the Tigers. Um, what about on the defensive side of the ball? That's that's harder to say. I do think Harold Perkins at LSU is a guy to talk about. Kool-Aid McKinstry at Alabama has been a very good player for them, over time. But I think this really comes down to three players. It comes down to Caleb Williams, um, you know, Marvin Harrison, and then uh, Brock Bowers. Those are the three guys who I think will probably be competing for the Heisman Trophy as time moves on here. Hey, look, we cannot do these videos without DoorDash. We did not use DoorDash last night. We are going to use it tonight, though. I'll tell you that. I'm not going to say who it is. Get 50% off your first order with DoorDash for a $20 value using the code DAWG, DAWG, at checkout, DAWG. This is a limited time only, and terms apply. 50% off up to $20, no minimum subtotal, and $0 delivery fees for your first order when you order on the and when you order and download the DoorDash app in the App Store. Use the code DAWG, DAWG. It's just like dog on dog post. There you go. Don't forget the code DAWG, DAWG, for 50% off your first order with DoorDash. There's a lot of stuff you can order too, for the record. There are a lot of different restaurants in Athens. If you're in Atlanta, I think we all know there's a ton of restaurants you can use with the DoorDash app. So, I mean, use it. It's pretty convenient. So download that today. I think we're talking about three different positions now. I mean, obviously the Heisman often comes down to quarterbacks because they got the ball in their hands all the time. Um, and it's going to be hard to argue that Brock Bowers has more impact on a game than Caleb Williams because Caleb plays, quarterback. That's it. Marvin Harrison, on the flip side, was, really playing well against Georgia until the second half. I'll go a little bit more into detail about this in a second, but let's talk about just how good that he is. He scared Georgia half to death, that's for sure. And, he has been good for Ohio State for some time. He was a very good player in that Peach Bowl game for them, and he had a very good. He's not the only really good receiver for them, by the way. I mean, he had a touchdown in. He had two touchdowns in the first half against Georgia. Now, I will say this: he had one. Yeah, he had one catch in the third quarter, and that was it. That was it. So they Georgia stopped him, and then he got injured, got knocked out of the game. So he really did not have an impact on the game the way that you would think he had. I said he had a completion. He actually didn't have a completion. There was a pass interference called on 1st and 20 on Keely Ringo at the Ohio State 39. That was the same drive that he got knocked out of the game by Javon Bullard. So Georgia adjusted because that was late in the third quarter. Georgia adjusted, and he really didn't do a ton in the second half. Partly because he didn't play, but partly because Georgia stopped him. So there's all of that too. But with Bowers, let's just compare in one game. This is very unfair, but let's compare the one game between those two. Marvin Harrison with 106 yards and two touchdown receptions. Brock Bowers with 4 catches. So Marvin Harrison had 5 catches, 106 yards as a receiver, and obviously a pass-heavy offense. Ohio State threw it 34 times. Georgia threw it 34 times, and Brock Bowers had 4 catches for 64 yards. Kenny McIntosh was the person with the most receptions in that game for the Dogs, so with 5 receptions. But Arian Smith obviously had the long ball, 76-yard. But the most consistent two players for Georgia in the passing game were Kenny and Brock. So I think when you look at all three of these guys, I would say, Marvin Harrison to be in New York. He's the one that, to me, I think he just, unless he gets hurt like he did against Georgia, I can't. He's just too good to ignore not being in New York. And then you talk about, Caleb Williams. He's going to put up 40 touchdowns, throwing it. That's what I think, because it's almost too easy. 40 touchdowns. That sounds like a lot. He can handle that. I mean, he can handle 40 touchdowns. I would think. Now he may have had 40 touchdowns this past season, and I not even realize it when I say that. Yeah, he had 42 last year, so he's going to have his 40. But I don't know what gets Bowers to New York necessarily, other than he really just has to have a very good season, which he's had the whole time. He can't get injured. There's all sorts of things that go into why you win the Heisman or why you don't. But look, I think those are the two guys that you can make the argument that they are better than Brock Bowers. But I'm not sure there's a bunch of them. I'm saying Stetson because Double Dogs is out and about in your mailboxes soon. If you've not gotten it, you're going to get it next week. I got an email yesterday about the Confetti. Here's what we got left of the confetti, okay? Now listen, it's confetti. We're not ironing the confetti. We're giving you the confetti, okay? And it smells. I'm just going to tell you, okay, it doesn't smell like it did, but it did smell a lot. We've done a lot to take it out. Some of the confetti is hearts for some reason. They're strange, but you're getting a few pieces of confetti. You're not getting bags full of confetti, and that's what's on the way. It's typically red, black, white, and the number. So if you're expecting, I got one person emailing me about it, talking about just sort of I'm not sure, but it's confetti, y'all. It's not a brand new shirt, so don't think that it's going to be pristine. If you get hearts, just know that I'm not sure I can explain it, but that was in I can't. I have a hard time showing it. These hearts were in the confetti. I don't know if these were the broken hearts that Ohio State suffered in losing that game the way they did, and now we got to talk about Marvin Harrison getting hurt the whole time. Marvin Harrison didn't have a catch in the second half against Georgia. I mean, like I don't mean anything bad. The kid is obviously an exceptional player, but I just ripped it. But you know, we got some of the pieces did come that way. But Marvin Harrison was a great player, but Georgia shut him down in the second half, and then he got hurt. And I mean, it's terrible. It's a part of the game, though, and it's just what it is. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the website.